What's here? Welcome to The Real Entrepreneur, where I review movies, videos, and TV shows and give you the entrepreneurial tips within. Today we're going to talk about the social network, one of the greatest businesses of the 20th century or 21st century, I guess we're in now, right? One of the greatest businesses of the current times. It's Facebook. And we're going to listen to Mark Zuckerberg, or as my mother would say, Mark Zuckerberg, and see what we have to learn. Here we go. Hit that notification bell in the meantime.
My last name is the same as my brother's.
Mr. Zuckerberg, this is an administrative board hearing. You're being accused of intentionally breaching security, violating copyrights, violating individual privacy by creating
It used to be
a
called Face
website,
Smash. I didn't realize that, and I've seen this movie 3
www.facesmash.com.
times. Why did
You're
that
also
not land
charged
with
being
me?
in violation
I
of
don't know.
university policy
Right,
on
'cause it's
distribution
irrelevant.
of digitized images. Before we begin with our questioning, you're allowed to make a statement. Would you like to do so?
I've already apologized in the Crimson to the ABHW, to Fuerza Latina, and to any women at Harvard who may have been insulted, as I take it that they were. As for any charges stemming from the breach of security, I believe I deserve some recognition from this board.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
I got to pause it right here. I have a feeling I know he's going into. He says, I deserve recognition for the breaches of security. Let's see what he says, but I think he's going to start showing off. Be careful of ego, but it may be indisputable. Plus, there is a technique here to learn from, is disrupting an expectation, not following protocol, gets people's attention. Notice how everyone's engaged? Be careful how you do it, but there is a lesson there that if you want to be noticed in a good way, be different in a good way.
I don't understand.
Which part?
You deserve recognition.
I believe I pointed out some pretty gaping holes in your system.
Excuse me, may I?
Yes.
Mr. Zuckerberg, I'm in charge of security for all computers on the Harvard network, and I can assure you of its sophistication. In fact, it was that level of sophistication that led us to you in less than 4 hours.
4 hours.
Yes, sir.
That would be impressive, except if you had known what you were looking for, you would have seen it written on my dorm room window.
So it's funny is that the person in charge of the IT security there says, well, we found you in 4 hours because we're so sophisticated and so forth. He's immediately going into defense. And he's now with Zuckerberg, and Zuckerberg comes back and you've seen my dorm room window. That is a very tenuous situation to be in. Zuckerberg is about to be tried effectively in this hearing, and he's triggering conflict. Now, that's his style. That's who he is. I think he's a little bit on the spectrum, in my opinion. Be very careful about getting into an argument until you have all the facts in place in any kind of situation. I think there's a saying about trial attorneys is they don't ask any questions that they don't already know the answer to. So use that as you go into negotiations and so forth. Know the answers before you make ask questions, and know where you're headed before you make bold statements. Okay, here's the next scene.
What my brother and I came here today to ask of you, respectfully, of course, is it's against university rules to steal from another student, plain and simple.
You've spoken to your housemaster.
Yes, sir. And the housemaster made a recommendation to the ad board, but the ad board won't see us.
Have you tried dealing with the other student directly?
Mr. Zuckerberg hasn't been responding to any of our emails or phone calls for the last 2 weeks. He doesn't answer when we knock on his door at Kirkland, and the closest I've come to dealing with him face to face is when I saw him on the quad and chased him through Harvard Square.
Chased him?
I saw him, and I know he saw me. I went after him, and then he disappeared.
I don't see this as a university issue.
Of course this is a university issue. There's a code of ethics and an honor code, and he violated them
You
both.
enter into a code of ethics with the university, not with each other.
I'm sorry, President Summers.
This is interesting. He's entered into a code of ethics with the university, now with each other. When you get into a dispute, choose the platform that you're going to use for mediation or for the conflict. And if you're on the attack, if you will, these guys are going to sue Mark Zuckerberg. They're trying to find platforms that put them in the best light. So they're now fighting for this, and this is good to see what their options are. Do the same. If you have to go into conflict, I prefer to avoid it, but if you have to go into conflict, choose a platform that's going to put you in the best position. Kind of surround yourself with strength, in this case, Harvard University.
I'm sorry, President Summers, but what you just said makes no sense to me at all.
I'm devastated by that.
What my brother means is if Mark Zuckerberg walked into our dorm room and stole our computer, that would be a university
I
issue.
really don't know. This office doesn't handle petty larceny.
This isn't petty larceny. This idea is potentially worth millions of dollars.
Millions?
Yes.
You might just be letting your imaginations run away with you.
Sir, I honestly don't think you're in any position to make that call.
I was the U.S. Treasury Secretary. I'm in some position to make that call.
Letting our imaginations run away with us is exactly what we were told to do in your freshman address.
Then I would suggest that you let your imaginations run away with you on a new project.
You would?
Yes, everyone at Harvard's inventing something. Harvard undergraduates believe that inventing a job is better than finding a job. So I'll suggest again that the two of you come up with a new
Pause
project.
it. Inventing a job is better than finding a job. I kind of love it. Very entrepreneurial.
The two of you come up with a new project.
I'm sorry, sir, but that's not the point.
Please, arrive at the point.
You don't have to be an intellectual property expert to understand the difference between right and wrong.
And you're saying that I don't.
Of course I'm not saying that, sir. I'm saying that.
Really?
Sir.
And how did they get this appointment?
Colleagues of their father.
Let me tell you something, Mr. Winklevoss. Mr. Winklevoss, since you're on the subject of right and wrong, this action, this meeting, the two of you being here, is wrong. It's not worthy of Harvard. It's not what Harvard saw in you. You don't get special treatment.
We never asked. Just start another project?
If you
like
have-
we're making a diorama for a
If
science
you have
fair?
a problem with that, Mr.
We
Winklevoss,
never asked for special
the
treatment.
courts are always at your disposal. Is there anything else I can do for you?
Yeah, it's a real interesting situation. So they're trying to go for the platform. They're getting rejected by the representation at Harvard. And they said the courts are always available to you. You know, this is a sticky situation, but I would argue in your business, if you're going into conflict, seek out all the platforms, and sometimes you'll be rejected. They won't be able to help you, but seek out all forms of addressing conflict through remediation, arbitration, lawsuits, whatever it is. Consider all options that can move your agenda forward the best way. So I think they did the right thing. I think they heard what they didn't want to hear. Let me just change the volume on my system here, and let's go for the next scene.
First I thought he was joking, giving me more
Nice conference
contracts
room.
to sign. But then I started reading. What is this?
Well, as you know, we had some new investors that have come
What
in.
is this?
Yeah, well, wow, he's just about to walk out of those doors, but and have conflict with Mark Zuckerberg. Such a horrible way, in my opinion, to manage partner relationships. You make a bed, you got to lie in it. Now, you are going to have hard times and hard conversations that have to happen. There is going to be transformation of the business, and roles are going to change, but you need to do it face to face. And this is just a horrible execution in doing this by trying to sneak one past the goaltender.
Mark! Mark!
He's wired in.
Sorry?
He's wired in.
Is he?
Yes.
How about now? You still wired in?
Call security.
You issued 24 million new shares of stock.
You were told that if new investors
How
came
much
along...
were your shares diluted? How much were his?
What was Mr. Zuckerberg's ownership share diluted down to?
It wasn't.
What was Mr. Moskowitz's ownership share diluted down to?
It wasn't.
What was Sean Parker's ownership share diluted down to?
It wasn't.
What was Peter Thiel's ownership share diluted down to?
It wasn't.
And what was your ownership share diluted down to?
0.03%.
Wow. Wow. It's total manipulation.
You signed the papers.
You set me up.
You're gonna blame me because you were the business head of the company and you made a bad business deal with your own company?
It's gonna be like I'm not a part of Facebook.
It won't be like you're not a part of Facebook. You're not a part of Facebook.
My name's on the masthead.
Wow. Wow. What a manipulative move, right? So there's consequence with those moves. And, he dilutes no one except for the one person, brings him down to basically no ownership. Then tries to make an argument why that was fair and appropriate by saying you simply signed it. And that was one to try to sneak past the goaltender, just sign these papers and bury it. Be very careful in what you sign, but secondly, doing that doesn't make it legal. It's effectively lying to someone. So then he has to seek out, not Zuckerberg, but the other fellow needs to seek out a way to remediate this. Now goes to trial. It's a dirty, dirty move. And I don't think that's a healthy way to grow a business by any stretch of imagination. I would never recommend that. So some tough insights, right? A very successful business, but some kind of dirty stuff, dirty laundry behind the scenes in this episode. I invite you to push the notification bell and push the subscribe button so you don't miss a single episode. And I'll see you on the next TRE. Hope these are delivering value to you, and make sure you see the next episode. Catch you later on TRE.